Warning. The Intercontinental Committee on Podcasting warns that listening to the Get the Fluff Out podcast may induce euphoric feelings of nostalgia, which may lead to complete and total ratitude.
The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
What the fuck? Get the fluff out.
Welcome to Get the Fluff Out. I'm Hollywood, along with your co-host, Dirty Jim. And thanks for joining us on our rockin' journey through the decades in our quest for the musical Holy Grail, creating the ultimate Gen X rockin' mixtape playlist. On each episode, we'll choose which songs from an album review that will make the cut to appear on the playlist. It's time to experience the soundtrack of our lives. Take off to the Great White North! Take off! Dirty Jim, how's it going?
Oh, I gotta tell you, if I clicked on this podcast and this particular episode and I push play after that introduction happens for the podcast and all of a sudden this Puerto Rican voice starts singing Take Off to the Great White North, I don't think I'm going to stay there for that long.
It's like you feel like you're in another dimension. What is going on?
I feel they're not even going to hear what I'm saying right now. They're done. You know what? You know what's nice though? They clicked on us.
They did, and we're so appreciative of that. Thank you guys for tuning in. And obviously, I sang that at the very beginning for a reason, because we have a special episode right here on the Get the Fluff Out podcast. And for all you guys out there, if you remember back in the early 80s, there was this kind of spoof comedy song called Take Off from an album called The Great White North. And it had Geddy Lee singing on vocals. And it's basically these comedy characters, Bob and Doug McKenzie. And those were actually just characters. It was played by Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, comedians from Canada. And do you remember hearing this on the radio, Dirty Jim?
I think that either I had it or someone had the album. I remember hearing that song with the coo, that one.
Yeah.
That's Take Off to the Great White North, right? That's how it starts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have had it, or my brother had it. Someone in my family or a friend, close friend, had it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's basically the reason I'm bringing that up is because on our special episode today, we're going to be doing something called the Triple Band Slam.
It's a triple band slam.
And we're going to be covering 3 bands from the Great White North, from our neighbors to the north, Canada. And we have Dirty Jim, a bunch of fans in Canada, and we want to thank all of our listeners to the GTFO podcast listening up north.
Thank you, Canada. You're very nice people.
So let's get a little bit into this here, and we'll kind of explain what's going on. So the 3 bands that we're going to be covering today are April Wine, Triumph, and Rush. Now, Dirty Jim, do you want me to go through just one at a time as we go through the songs on a particular album? How do you want to take care of this?
I say we start it out like it's a concert. April Wine's coming out first, obviously, because, you still have Triumph and Rush to follow, but I'd say the opener for the night would be April Wine, so why don't you tell us a little bit about them?
All right. I like that idea. Like we're in a concert right here.
There you go.
And 3 bands on the bill.
Did Frank play the little thing that we're supposed to play for our triple band slam?
Yes, we already heard that.
Oh, okay. Because I can't hear it right now. Because right now I'm in work mode, so I don't hear what Frank's doing.
Right,
Frank.
All right, thank you, Frank, for all that you do. Our producer, Frank, and sound effects and doing the engineering behind the scenes there over there in the glass booth.
Yeah, as you were, Frank, as you were.
Let's dig right in. So the opening band is April Wine. Now they originated in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada back in 1969. And for this tour, for this concert tour, we're actually going to be covering one of their albums called Nature of the Beast, which they released January 12th, 1981. It was already their ninth album in their catalog. So got a lot of music from April Wine, but we're going to be just focusing on Nature of the Beast for this triple band slam. For the band members, lead vocals, guitar, keyboards, we have Miles Goodwin. Also on vocals and guitar, Brian Greenwood. Guitar and backing vocals, Gary Moffat. We have Steve Lang on bass and backing vocals, and then Jerry Mercer on the drums. Dirty Jim, do you have any album notes for Nature of the Beast?
I have one little thing for Nature of the Beast, and it is that this album was certified platinum in the United States, which means it sold 1 million plus albums.
And there's probably one reason, one song why.
What's that?
Actually, there's actually two songs for the reason why they sold over 1 million copies. It's their biggest album in their career.
Those two songs, and we'll get to them, are so much different than the rest of the album.
Absolutely. So let's dig right in. Dirty Jim, you traditionally go first. Let's go ahead and why don't you pick the first song that you like to hear on this concert tour?
I like the sound of that. All right, the very first song that I'm going to hear, we're going to go right down the album, and I'll pick one, then you pick one. I'm going with track number 3, and you knew this was coming. It is the second single from the album. It's a song called Sign of the Gypsy Queen. So, Hollywood, before I get into Sign of the Gypsy Queen, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Did you also want to bring this along?
I absolutely want to bring Sign of the Gypsy Queen along in concert.
All right, well, let me tell you a little bit about why I want to bring it along, and also a little bit about the song itself. This song was originally recorded by Lawrence Hudd on his debut album in 1973. Don't ask me, I didn't really look up Lawrence Hudd. He has a couple albums. I didn't go listen to the song. You could probably go find it on YouTube. But April Wine rocked it up a bit for this one. It sounds to me a little like Blue Oyster Cult in a Don't Fear the Reaper kind of way. It's got a 7.
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, I do.
You felt that a little bit, and then I didn't, but then it came back, and yeah. So, but it's got a 70s feel with a great flow and a solid, smooth chorus with a nice solo, and that's why I'm bringing Sign of the Gypsy Queen, and I think everyone out there who doesn't know it will like the song.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Sign of the Gypsy Queen, it's not April Wine's biggest hit, but to me, it's absolutely their signature classic rock radio song. It reached number 19 on the Billboard Top Tracks charts, and like you said, it's a cover song. And the original by Lawrence Hudd was an acoustic guitar song. So you can look it up, like Dirty Jim said, on YouTube. It's pretty similar. Obviously, April Wine, they included electric guitars, and they spiced it up a bit. But pretty much just the acoustic version changed over to electric version. Now, I'm sure that the band had no clue that the track was going to be this massive worldwide hit. But I bought the album back in the 1980s because I heard the song on the radio, and then when I'm going through the record store, I'm looking through the album covers, I see this album cover, and you have this guitar player on stage. He's wearing black leather pants, and he's wearing this lion's head, and the title of the album is called The Nature of the Beast. So to me, it looked and it sounded like it could be a heavy, hard rock album, but really it's more of a melodic rock and roll album. There's touches of kind of like maybe a little bit of 70s punk, a little bit of rock and roll influence from the 50s and the 60s. But to me, I really like this song. It's coming with us in concert, and it's making the Ultimate Gen X Rockin' Mixtape playlist.
All right, Hollywood, why don't you pick the next song that's coming with us from this album?
The next song from April Wine off Nature of the Beast, Just Between You and Me. Now, this is the big ballad, and it was April Wine's biggest hit ever. This was the one that reached number 11 on Billboard's Top Tracks charts. And to me, you kind of listen to the lyrics, you listen to the music. It's a sweet song. It's, about the ups and downs of a relationship and how two people who love each other can essentially make it work. And the band even threw in some French language lyrics at the end of the song, which obviously they were trying to connect with their French-Canadian fan base, and it did. So I also connected with the track. I think it's a cool ballad, and this one, for me, is making the ultimate Gen X rockin' mixtape.
All right, and it was the first single for the album, and I have a little obscure music trivia for the folks out there, and possibly for you too, Hollywood.
Oh boy.
On
Okay.
August 1st, 1981, it was the 14th video played on MTV's first day in existence.
Wow, that's a piece of trivia I did not know. I know several of the videos that were on that first day, but I didn't realize April Wine was on that first day of MTV.
Well, now you can't say that any longer. But also, it was the first video played by a Canadian artist on MTV.
Woohoo!
Yeah, they even beat out
go
Rush.
Canada.
They even beat out Rush on MTV. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Rush is probably backstage right now warming up. Because they're coming up. They're coming.
I think Rush is actually just chilling out. They're chilling out backstage right now.
He's probably practicing his kulu-koo-koo-koo-koo-koo. All right. But anyway, I also would have brought this song along. It's got a short but great intro, a sweet 70s sounding ballad. And just like the last song, it's got a nice solo and a smooth chorus. And I will guarantee you that a lot of couples claim this as their song back in 1981. But this was a wedding song. This was probably a prom song. And that some girl out there, or maybe even some guy, throws this in and says, honey, this is our song.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, the kids like in high school and over in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, back at that time, it's April Wine must have been their gods.
Oh, yeah.
It was, like you said, the prom song. It was a song that they had for their school dances.
Yeah, well, thank God for the United States and better music. But anyway, let's get...
Oh, my God, dude.
All right.
Well, you definitely put salt in that wound.
Let me get on down to the next song. I don't know if you have any more from this album, but I do have two more. And here is...
I also have more.
Oh, okay. All right, my next song for this album is a song called Crash and Burn. All right, so this song, like the other one, reminded me of Blue Oyster Cult. Crash and Burn kind of reminds me a little of Free for All from Ted Nugent. And it's did you have this song? Is this one of your songs also?
This is also one of my songs.
Okay. But if you go listen to it, did you not hear that it kind of sounds a little like Free for All?
I have a couple other references here, so you go ahead with yours, and then
Okay.
I'll mention my references.
Okay. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward, aggressive rock and roll. I love this song. I don't remember hearing this song back in the day. I had this on cassette. As far as I remember, I don't have my cassettes anymore, but I could remember purchasing this. And I remember listening to this several times, but I don't remember Crash and Burn personally. But I love this song. Well, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think for me, Crash and Burn, it's probably the most rockin' song on the album. I mean, it's a fast song. It's very similar in style to Bo Diddley. Now, Bo Diddley was back in the 50s and the 60s, and he had this very unique style of his rhythm guitar as well as a drum pattern. And if you listen to the song, you even also hear a little bit of sha-na-na in this song. They had a song called Born to Hand Jive. You remember the movie Grease?
I do.
Obviously John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. When they were at the dance, the Rydell High school dance, Sha-Na-Na was on stage, and they start playing a song called Born to Hand Jive. You listen to the rhythmic pattern of that song and the way the guitar was being played, almost identical to Crash and Burn. It's crazy. But to me, Crash and Burn is just a fast, hard-driving song. It keeps hitting you for just 2 minutes and 33 seconds. I love that it's just like in and out. It's a fun, upbeat, deep cut that most people haven't even heard of. To me, it's going to be a fine addition to the Ultimate Gen X Rockin' Mixtape playlist.
You know, anytime I hear the name of the movie Grease, all I picture is the Shake Shack and Olivia Newton-John in that tight black outfit.
Oh.
I do remember the hand jive, though, because I don't remember the woman that danced with John Travolta, but remember she cast Sandy aside and Cha-Cha something.
Yeah, her name was Cha-Cha Di Gregorio.
Oh, okay. and she pushed that pockmark face guy out of the way, and she comes in and dances with, she comes in.
Yeah, the guy from the Scorpions.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway.
I love that movie.
Why don't you tell me what your next song is from this album?
Dirty Jim, I am actually finished with April Wine, Nature of the Beast. It is back to you.
Oh, I thought you had more.
No, I just chose 3 songs that are coming in concert with us and making the mixtape playlist on Spotify.
Okay, I have one more song. And
all right.
Do you think you could guess which one it is? Because it's very easy.
Okay, I'm going to go through the list just really quickly here, and let's see what it is. I bet you it's going to be Caught in the Crossfire.
You would be incorrect.
Oh, okay. How about Future Tense?
No.
Okay, how about All Over Town?
You know what? Why don't I just tell you what it is?
That's not working.
You know, when I listened to this album, before I tell you the last song, when I listened to this album, I found that there was like a mix of post-Dio Rainbow, The Cars, a little Blue Oyster Cult, definitely a lot of new wave 80s, and a mixture of punk.
Right.
Because remember is it the first song or the second? No, which one is the one that is like Ramones Light? You know, it's like a light version. Oh, Wanna Rock.
Oh, yeah.
That sounded so much like the Ramones, just a light version of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is obviously not the song that I'm choosing. I am choosing the last song on the album, track 11.
Really?
Yes, let me tell the name of the song, and we can argue about this in a second.
Okay.
One More Time. Are you a little surprised by that one?
Yes, I am actually a little surprised, but why don't you give us your reasoning why you want this on the playlist?
I love the Kinks. And if you listen to this one, it sounds like it could have been something from the Kinks. It's upbeat, and it rocks out at times. It's a great song for this band to close out a show with, or even just a bar to play this as their end of the night song when they're shutting down. This is actually one of my favorite songs on the album. It may be my favorite song on the album. I love it, and it really does sound just like the Kinks to me.
Wow.
I figured that you would know that this was a song that I would love, because you know I love these ones that really don't fit on the album. And it just, to me, I mean, this screams out Dirty Jim to me. Like, it's got that little bit of what you would probably call cheese, but I don't think it's cheesy at all. I love this song.
All right, that's cool. I mean, when I hear April Wine, I had the cassette too, and I listened to it a lot, and just listen back to it now, all these years later, I like this album. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here. I just chose kind of like these are the highlighted songs for me that will make the list, but I have no problem listening from track 1, All Over Town, all the way to the end one more time. So I like a lot of these songs. I just highlighted 3, though, that we're going to hear in concert.
There are a lot on this album, though, that sound like the new wave 80s to me.
Yeah, I think this is, you said it right actually before when you said this is the songs here is like what you would hear a bar band playing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You go into a bar anytime back in the early 80s, if I would have heard this band just as I walked into a bar back at that time, I would have been like, dude, these guys are pretty good.
Yeah, they have a ton of albums. I'm sure that they're probably thinking, hey, you know, we were pretty good. I don't know why you guys are just discovering this.
Right.
But, all right, hey, you know what? April Wine's done.
Thank you to all our winos out there, eh? We are April Wine. Up next, Triumph.
They're going back, probably going to have a drink, maybe take a shower, maybe hang out with a couple groupies if they're not already in a committed relationship. And while they're going back, someone else is setting up. Who is that?
Coming up next on stage, Triumph. And the album that we're going to be selecting songs from is called Allied Forces. Now, with Triumph, they also originated, they're a Canadian band, shocker. They're from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, and they were formed back in 1975. And this album, Allied Forces, was released also in 1981, and it's their 5th album in their catalog. And when we go to the band members, you have Rick Emmett, amazing guitar player, I can't say enough about his guitar playing style. Great vocals, high-pitched. And then you also have the drummer Gil Moore, who's also the lead vocalist. So he shares co-lead vocals with Rick Emmett. And then you have Mike Levine on bass, organ, synthesizer, piano. So that's the trio of the band. They had some others who were doing some backing vocals on the album. There was someone by the name of Elaine Overholt, but obviously she's not a member of the band. So as far as Triumph is concerned, we're focusing on Rick Emmett, Gil Moore, and Mike Levine. And Dirty Jim, why don't you start off with your first song off of Allied Forces by Triumph?
Don't you want to hear the one fact I have about this album?
You actually have a fun fact, an album note? Go ahead.
Not an album note, just an album note. It's not really a fun fact. It's just that this album hit number 13 in Canada.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of information about this album or the album before this.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, number 13 in Canada. I don't know who the first 12 were, but they were number 13. So let me go into my first song that I'm going to choose.
All right.
And it is track number 1, Fool for Your Love. Hollywood, did you also like Fool for Your Love?
I did like Fool for Your Love, but it's not on my list today.
Well, obviously you didn't like it enough. So, all right. Fool for Your Love for me, this is just a pretty tasty 70s sounding rocker. It's solid all the way around. And if I was grading it, it would definitely be, and I don't know why you didn't like it, but for me, it would definitely be a grade A prime cut.
No, actually, I did like Fool for Your Love.
But you didn't want to include it.
No, I didn't include it for this particular triple band slam, what we were doing as far as concert is concerned. But Fool for Your Love would definitely be an honorable mention for me if I selected that particular track to be played. But yeah, I think it's a cool tune. I do like it.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell me your first song?
Okay, so for Hollywood, my very first song from Triumph off the album Allied Forces is called Magic Power.
How did I know?
Okay, so Magic Power is my absolute favorite song from Triumph. Out of all their songs and all their albums, this is the song to me that just identifies Triumph. To me, the combination of the music and the lyrics, it's amazing. I remember when back in high school, back in the 80s, obviously, hearing the song on the radio, and I listened closely to the lyrics, and I especially love the lines that say, "Then you hear the music, and it all comes crystal clear. The music does the talking, says the things you want to hear. I'm young, I'm wild, and I'm free, got the magic power of the music in me." And dude, I'm listening to those lyrics as a teenage kid, and I'm just, it's at a time when I'm starting to learn how to play guitar. I said to myself, that's exactly how I feel. I love this song. I love the sentiment behind it. Everything about the song. I mean, Rick Emmett, he has a great voice. He's an amazing guitar player. I love how he layers these multiple 12-string acoustic and electric guitars throughout the song. It's, again, my absolute favorite song, and it's making the Ultimate Gen X Rockin' Mixtape playlist on Spotify.
I wish I knew back then that I wasn't going to be that young forever, because I felt like it back then. And days felt a lot longer back then, where now it feels like every day is like, I don't know, an hour.
Yeah,
it
it's
goes
whizzing
so
by.
fast. Yeah. Anyway, for me, I also would have chosen Magic Power. This is the second single of the album. It's got great building verses with an awesome chorus. It's not really heavy, but it does rock. It's inspirational. And if this doesn't get you going, nothing will. This is a great song. I'm going to move down to my next chosen song from this album. And it is track number 4, the title track, Allied Forces. All right, for the title track, which is Allied Forces, it's not the best song on the album, but it's definitely not a slouch. The chorus is just okay, but as a whole, Allied Forces, it's pretty rockin'. Like, there's nothing that I found that was, like, special about it, but I think the combination of everything made this song a good song. What did you think about Allied Forces?
Allied Forces is also on my list.
Oh, thank God, because I don't think I took up a minute of time for that. And I'm like, that's all I had. That's all I had to say about it. I would have had to maybe done another Kuluku Kuku Kuku Koo.
So, to me, Allied Forces, now, on this track, the drummer, Gil Moore, he's the one who sings this title track. And now you have to think about the timing, the 70s and the 80s here. Before MTV took over this visual presentation of what a rock band should look like in the 80s, where you had the lead singer up front, there were a bunch of bands that actually had drummers who were also lead singers. I mean, easily you could think of like Ringo Starr from the Beatles, Peter Criss from Kiss. He always sang a bunch of songs. He had easily 2 songs per album that he was singing. You have Roger Taylor from Queen, Phil Collins, Genesis, Don Henley from Eagles. So it was actually relatively common for a drummer to also be a lead singer. But when it comes to this song, I'm so glad that the band decided not to include the intro track that's called Air Raid right before this.
Right.
Oh, dude. I heard that it's the worst sound effects ever. It's a minute and 19 seconds of wasted recording tape. I mean, it's supposed to nothing. It's supposed to sound like this bomb whistling through the air and then exploding. But it sounds nothing like an exploding bomb. I mean, I mean, right here, this is what Air Raid should have sounded like. Now that's a sound effect, dude.
Yeah, Triumph should have gone to zapsplat.com.
I have that written in my notes. Thank you to zapsplat.com for the awesome sound effects. But anyway, man, this title track, it's just a really cool song. Like you said, it's not the best, but it's just a straightforward, up-tempo rockin' track. I love the guitar solo. Allied Forces is making the playlist.
What do you have for your next song?
So for my next song from Allied Forces is called Fight the Good Fight. So for me, Fight the Good Fight, I don't think the 32-second intro really added anything to the song here. They could have just easily chopped that off. I mean, the song is 6 minutes and 24 seconds long, so it's a relatively long song, and it was a song that you heard on the radio a lot. But that main opening riff after the intro, it's just kind of this clean tone, strummed electric guitar, which is continued under the first 2 verses. And we don't actually hear distorted electric guitars until the chorus starts at around 2 minutes and 13 seconds. To me, it's a good chorus. I like it a lot. It's some tasty guitar soloing by Rick Emmett. It's a good song. It's nothing like Magic Power, but it's still a good track, and this is absolutely going to make the ultimate rockin' mixtape playlist.
I also chose track number 6, Fight the Good Fight, which is the first single from the album. And pretty much the same things you said, but, this one actually, like you said, it gets better as it goes on.
Right.
And to me, it has a bit of a Rush sound to it. Mm-hmm. Like you could hear on this album hints of Rush.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure that these guys, man, they must have been hammered as Rush clones. Especially when you hear Rick Emmett's voice.
Right.
It's almost like, dude, are you trying to sound like Geddy Lee, or is that really your voice?
It's so good, though. So good.
Yeah, very good.
All right. Well, I'm going to backtrack a little. I'm surprised that you didn't pick this song, but I chose track number 5, Hot Time in the City Tonight. Now, when this first started, this song, I almost thought it was going to break into Johnny B. Good. Just for that first little bit, and I'm like, wow, this sounds a little like Johnny B. Good. But it also has a little bit of a Boston feel to it as it starts playing along. But did you listen to this song? Like, was this an option, or did you just pass right by it?
No, I listened to everything multiple times, this whole album. And
right, but did you ever consider it, or did you just think it just wasn't for you?
There's a reason it's the lowest streamed song on this album on Spotify. I'm not a fan of the song.
Well,
it's okay. It's just kind of to me it's kind of more of a lazy rock and roll kind of a song. It's like, okay. It's all right, but yeah, I'm not really going to listen to it again.
Well, fortunately for Dirty Jim, who's bringing it to the playlist, I think this is just a relentless, assertive rocker. I didn't think it was lazy. I liked it. I really kind of liked it. There are a couple songs here, I'm not going to mention them, that I didn't really like, but I liked that one, and I liked Magic Power like you did, and I liked Fight the Good Fight like you did. And those were the hits, definitely, of this album. But do you have another one that you'd like to bring along?
I have an honorable mention. I'm not going to put it on the playlist, but I do want to mention it for a specific reason.
Okay.
It's track 8. It's called Petite Etude.
Oh.
Now, obviously, Dirty Jim would hate this song. It's 1 minute and 15 seconds long, and essentially what it is, it's a classical music piece. And when I heard it, though, I mean, I love this song. I'm not going to put it on the playlist because I know most people aren't going to like it. They're going to be like, well, what is this? And I compared it to the song D that Randy Rhoads did on Ozzy's first album, Blizzard of Oz. Now, when you play Petite Etude next to D, the production quality and the sound quality of the song from Triumph way supersedes Ozzy's and Randy's version. Ozzy and Randy's version, with Randy playing, there's a lot of echo going on, echo and reverb. Petite Etude, it's right into the mixing board. You can hear the sound of the classical guitar strings and everything, and his style of playing, you could tell this dude is a classically trained guitar player. I love on every album that Triumph has, he throws in a song like this, a little song that has some kind of classical piece on it. I totally dig it, but I'm going to save everyone's ears here. I'm not going to put it on the playlist just because I'm just going to keep it to myself.
That's 1 minute and 12 seconds that they'll never get it back.
Yeah, I actually spoke longer than the actual song.
I think you did.
Yeah.
You could put in the 30-second clip with that song just to give them a little taste if you want.
There you go.
All right. Well, I took one more song. Let me just take a quick look here. Yeah, it looks like I only took one more song from this album. Do you know which one it is?
I'm going to say last track, Say Goodbye.
You know what's funny is that last track of this album and the last track of the other album, they're kind of very similar.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, as far as like, hey, hitting the road kind of thing. But anyway, Say Goodbye, I really like the sound of this one. And I know that I use the same terms a lot, but there are only so many ways to describe a rocking tune, or really any song that we describe. I mean, you must notice when you're describing songs on an album that you're like, boy, I feel like I've said this a million times. And you know that when we're talking about a song, someone out there is going to be like, oh, here comes the good flow, you know? But anyway, this song it's kind of a feel-good breakup rocker with a little bit of an attitude. Like he's breaking up with this girl, but at the same time, it's like a pick-me-up song.
Right.
And like I mentioned, this is one of my favorite on this album. I love this song, and I think people out there will like it. It is the third single from the album, so it's gotta be something if they made it a single.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. I didn't have it on my list. I'm glad you chose that song, and I think it's going to be a good song to be on our playlist. I like it. I like the harmonies in the chorus. I think it's actually a nice upbeat song as well. I wish we could replace Say Goodbye and delete Hot Time in the City Tonight. Just get rid of that one and keep Say Goodbye.
I'll let you know, but you know what? Whenever I go over these lists, I'm looking out for my fans who write me often. And
your fans.
I'm looking out for the people who consider Dirty Jim the talent of this podcast.
Oh, dear
And
Lord.
if they listen and they don't hear Hot Time in the City Tonight, how is that going to reflect upon me and my talent? But you know what? Right now, I see Triumph is leaving to a rousing round of applause.
All of you have the magic power, eh? We are Triumph. And the band you've all been waiting for, Rush!
And they're probably going to go back, maybe have a drink with April Wine. April Wine's probably already a few drinks in.
There you go.
But here comes the headliner of the evening. Tell us a little bit about them.
So tonight's headliner on the Triple Band Slam is Rush. And the album that we're going to be covering for this episode is Permanent Waves, which was released in 1980. Now, the band Rush, they originated in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, back in 1968. And this album, Permanent Waves, is the 7th album in their catalog. And for the band members, just legendary individuals. Geddy Lee, vocals, bass, synth pedals, bass pedals, all the different types of instruments that he plays. Alex Lifeson on lead guitar, rhythm guitar, and then you have the professor, the maestro of drumming, arguably one of the best drummers in the history of rock music, Mr. Neil Peart. Absolutely just one of the best drummers in history. So, Dirty Jim, why don't you take it with the album notes for Rush's Permanent Waves?
I do have a few album notes for this one. It was certified platinum in the U.S., also platinum in Canada, where in Canada you have to sell 100,000 plus. It was gold in the UK, and in the UK to make a gold album you have to sell 100,000 plus. It hit number 3 in the UK and Canada, number 4 in the US, and number 21 in Norway. And you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to let you start it out and tell me the first song you're choosing from this one.
Okay, so with Permanent Waves, it's a very interesting album because there's only 6 songs.
Hold on, let me
This
count
album.
them. Yep, 6.
Only 6 songs on an album. But then again, it's the year's 1980, and they themselves are a progressive rock band. There's a couple songs that are like super long on this album. So I get it. You know, at that time, it was okay that they have an album that's, only 35 minutes long. So for me, the first song that I'm bringing and we're going to be hearing in concert is The Spirit of Radio. Okay, so The Spirit of Radio. Now, this is it's just amazing, classic, progressive rock track. But yet, it has this commercial quality to it. But when you're listening, this song is all over the place musically. You hear rock, you hear a little bit of pop music, you even hear a little bit of reggae at some points of the song. There's absolutely no real continuous flow throughout the song, and yet Rush still pulls it off as a radio-friendly hit song. It's crazy that they're able to even do it. And to me, when it comes to the lyrics, I will always be a fan of Neil Peart's lyricism. And I think the reason is, Neil, he was so fond of books. He read so much, so many books in his library. His lyrical phrasing, not only is it poetic, but it's super insightful. And I think my love for kind of delving into the meaning of lyrics started way back in middle school from a teacher called Mr. Page at City Hill Middle School in Naugatuck, Connecticut.
Disco Page.
Yes. Sadly, he passed away only a few months ago. But Mr. Page was awesome. He had this one class that was called Rock Club. And all the kids, everyone wanted to get into that class. It was packed out. And essentially what he would do is each class he would take a popular rock song and then he would put the lyrics on an overhead projector. Remember those that he'd write on the screen and you'd see the overhead projector? And he would go down line by line, verse by verse, and he would break down the meaning of the song. It was absolutely my favorite class in middle school. I loved it. Anyway, this song, along with a lot of other Rush songs, so many great lyrics, but to me, The Spirit of Radio is definitely in my top 10 favorite Rush songs. It's making the ultimate Gen X rock and mixtape playlist for sure.
Well, I got a little information about this song, The Spirit of Radio. I also chose it. It is the first single from the album. It is their biggest hit ever in the UK, and this song hit number 13 in the UK. It's named one of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. And Classic Rock Magazine, which is a British magazine, their readers rated this Rush's fourth best song.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, Spirit of Radio has a great intro. It's bursting with musical awesomeness. It's got a lot of great changes, and the song is just so full. You know, these three guys making this music, everything Rush does feels like they have an orchestra behind them. They are just so good. I love this song. I actually had this album back in the day, or a cassette, which I don't have my cassettes anymore. But I liked this album. I never realized how short it was, and I haven't heard it in years. But let me move on to my second track that I'm taking from this album, and it is track number 2, and I know you're taking this one too, and it's a song called Free Will. All right, so Free Will, this was not a single, which surprised me, and perhaps they thought that 2 singles on an album of just 6 songs was enough. But
that would have been 1/3 of the album.
Exactly. But you know what? Free Will to me is, and we'll get to the second single, which is coming down, but Free Will to me is better than the second single, in my opinion. But what do I know?
Absolutely, you're right.
So this is pretty much, the exact same thing that I said with Spirit of Radio, but Geddy Lee said that the last verse was at the peak of his vocal range. And after I read that, I had to go back and listen to this again. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. But he was hitting those high notes, which I will never know. Maybe I have hit those high notes at different times, but never when I'm supposed to. But
exactly. Yeah, they're by mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
When your voice was cracking.
I've hit every note on the scale, but just not at the right times.
Yes.
But anyway, tell me what you think, and I know you like this song too. Tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Free Will it's just the opening riff. Just dude, that opening rock riff, it just punches you in the face. And on this track, Geddy, one thing that's interesting, he just chooses to sing the vocal melody line in the verses to match the same exact musical melody line. And we've talked about this before. And honestly, it's so much easier for a musician who's playing an instrument to sing a song with the same musical melody. And it takes a lot of practice to learn to sing a song with a contrasting vocal melody line to the music, especially when that vocal rhythm is different from the musical rhythm. Now, I know this because I did it for years when I was both a lead singer and lead guitar player for many years in the late 80s, early 90s. So it's not easy. So on this song, though, when it gets to the solo, dude, it's amazing. It starts off with Geddy Lee playing this tasty bass riffage right before Alex Lifeson starts playing. And dude, this guy is shredding on this guitar solo. Now, Alex, he's not really known as a guitar shredder, but when he lets loose, dude, he is so good. And on this solo, he just tore it up. Then, of course, the lyrics again stand out on this track. Dude, there's so many lyrics I could choose from, but I'm just going to choose the opening line of the chorus, which says, "You can choose a ready guide in some celestial voice. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice." Love that line. Dude, Neil Peart essentially he's saying that people can look to the Bible or God or other spiritual writings to kind of help them make decisions in life. But if a person chooses not to make a decision, they're still making a choice. Man, it's so clever. I mean, how do you come up with stuff like that? Well, Neil Peart did. Anyway, great song, Free Will. It's making the Ultimate Gen X Rockin' Mixtape playlist, and it's in concert right here on the Triple Band Slam.
You know, the woke generation says that silence is violence, so I don't know. I don't know who's right.
What?
Is it Neil Peart or is it the woke generation?
Oh my God. If that's a real thing, dude, that is... okay, I'm not even going to comment.
It is definitely a real thing, but we should not get political right now.
Okay.
What do you...
Silence is violence?
It's
okay.
it's you know how people... If you don't believe in what they say, then you're wrong. You know, and that's what the world has come to nowadays, that if you disagree with someone, you're wrong and there's something wrong with you. But anyway,
oh my God, yeah.
Let's get down to the...
I can't go. Let's go to the next one.
Let's get on down to the next song. And do you have any more on this album?
Actually, on this album, I don't. I have an honorable mention, which I'm hoping you've selected.
Well, give it to me.
So the song that it's not on my list, but I did select it as an honorable mention. It's called Entre Nous. Now, Dirty Jim, did you select Entre Nous as on your list?
You know what I like about this Triple Band Slam is that we didn't have a limit of songs. So had I had a limit, Entre Nous probably would have not made my list, but it did. And it is the second single from the album.
All right.
This one, to me, has a great, clean flow. There's my flow. I wish that... Now, I love how this starts. You know, I love that first verse. But I wish that the verse right after the chorus played at the same speed as the first two. I don't know why they slowed it down, because I really like the flow of those first two verses. But that's my only real complaint that I have about Entre Nous. It doesn't really blow me away, just like you chose it as an honorable mention. But there's something about it that I really like, and I want the GTFO playlist to share it with all of our peeps.
I have a feeling I know why you like that beginning of the song.
Why?
And I had the same feeling too. I listened to it over and over again. I'm like, what is it about this intro and the kind of... And you heard it a couple times throughout the song, and I figured it out. It reminds me of a similarity with Queensryche guitar riffs. There's a certain Queensryche guitar, and I couldn't figure out which album it came from. But listen to it again, the very opening of this song, and then you hear it a couple times throughout the song, but it sounds like Queensryche. And that's what I like about the song. And even right into the verses, I like what you're saying when you were talking about how it's kind of upbeat, a little bit rockin', and then they change during the actual chorus. I wasn't crazy about that, and that's one of the reasons why I was like, oh man, the chorus is kind of a bummer. It's not super dynamic, but overall, the song's a decent song. I would still listen to it. I'm glad that you added it to the playlist.
But then they came back with another verse, and just it was different. Like, it was the same style as the first two verses, but they just played it different, and it was a little slower and not as upbeat. And I really wish they had gone back to that because I really liked that part of the song when it first started out. But overall, the song, it's a good song.
All right, Dirty Jim, you know what? That's the end of the show.
Certainly is.
That's the end of the concert and our very first triple band slam in GTFO podcast history. All right, so we're looking forward to doing more of those types of episodes where we have multiple bands per episode. We're already behind the scenes mixing it up here with different bands, different albums and stuff. So I think it's cool to kind of just mix up music on an episode so that we can add more of a variety to the Ultimate Gen X Rock and Mixtape playlist that we're listening to on Spotify. And Dirty Jim, that list of songs is growing. It's crazy. I don't know if you've seen the list lately.
I do play it when I'm out on the bicycle when I'm not going over an album that we're discussing on the next podcast. But that list is growing, and I can't wait to see some of these songs on it.
Absolutely. I mean, right now, we're at up to 143 songs on the playlist, which is 9 hours and 47 minutes of music. So once you go to, I'm going to go ahead and I'll post this information on social media, the actual Ultimate Gen X Rockin' Mixtape, and I'll put the link on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can just click on the link. It'll take you there. And make sure that you click shuffle. Go ahead and just click that. And then all this music from the past, as of right now, it's how many episodes we have up there. I think we have 18 episodes.
This is episode 19.
Right. So right now there's 18 episodes of music. Once we put this episode and the one that is going to be our companion episode, we're going to have 20 episodes of music. Great music that's going to be added to this playlist.
I'm not going to rest, Hollywood, until we get every great song from our generation on this playlist.
That is our ultimate holy grail goal.
That's right. I hope I can live that long.
All right. So, dude, why don't you mention the companion episode for this week and what we have coming up next week?
Okay. If you have not listened to it yet, the companion episode to this one is Iron Maiden Peace of Mind from 1983. Great album. I think you're going to love it if you don't already. And in a couple weeks, you're going to be able to hear 2 more great albums. This is going to be a real fun show. But it's Boston, both self-titled debut albums. Boston from 1976 and Kiss from 1974.
Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to do the review on both of those. Dude. Such good music we're going to be adding to that playlist. I can't wait.
What a great album, that Kiss album. But let's not do it now, Hollywood. This is episode 19.
All right, guys. So go ahead and hit the follow button on Spotify, and that way you're going to be notified when new double episodes are released on the 1st and the 15th. And always keep in mind, on Spotify, we do not choose the 30-second clips.
And we are going to let you know that plenty of times.
We do not choose those clips. That's by the algorithm done by Spotify. But if you have the free subscription service, that's all you're going to hear is just a 30-second clip. But if you have the paid premium subscription, you can go ahead and hear the full song or skip the song if you'd like or listen to part of the song. It's all good, but as long as you listen. So that's about it, guys. If you'd like to send us an email with comments and suggestions, send it to getthefluffoutpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment there on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or just go directly to our website, www.getthefluffoutpodcast.com.
And the sound effects that we use that we don't make ourselves, we get from a site called zapsplat.com. And the intro music for the podcast we get from a site called looperman.com. It's a mix of 2 loops. The first is a drum loop from HP Records called Vintage Kit 2. And the second is a guitar loop from GeoMoon called Groovy Rock Guitars Loop Riff.
And the outro music that you're hearing right about now is called Elysian Fields by our band Forced Entry from 1988, copywritten by Hollywood and Dirty Jim. So we want to thank everyone for carving out some time in your busy schedule to listen to the Get the Fluff Out podcast and to get a little Gen X nostalgic with us. So with that being said, Dirty Jim, we just got the fluff out.
Yeah, we did.